Welcome to Third Eye Weekly. Joining us today is Austin Young. He's from the Fallen Fruit Art Collective. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Cool. So let's get started with hearing a little bit about the inspiration behind creating this Fallen Fruit Collective.
Wow, well, we started in 2004, and there were three of us, Matthias Wegener, David Burns, and I, and we were basically responding to a call for projects by the Journal of Aesthetics and Protest that asked, is it possible to create a project that has the agency of activism but isn't against anything? In other words, like something that just creates a solution but doesn't say, oh, you know, it's because we hate this or something. But so we at the time we thought about our neighborhood in Silver Lake, and we looked around and saw that there were a lot of fruit trees hanging maybe over the sidewalk or even on public space. So we mapped the fruit trees just in our neighborhood in Silver Lake, but maybe about 4 square blocks where we all live, and we found out there were more than 100 like trees that you could access, and mapped them, and thought about the idea of, you know, like it's a car culture here, like a lot of other cities are as well, and maybe to thinking of it as a way to get people to meet their neighbors and actually get out on the street and walk. And so, you know, once we did that, we just thought, oh, this is an amazing idea. And so we thought, we'll just keep on mapping different neighborhoods in different cities. So we ended up mapping a lot of cities. And then this was kind of before, you know, there was people were thinking about foraging or, you know, really focusing on urban farming.
So what was the public reception like for this after you guys got momentum?
It's really interesting. People were just really excited, you know. It's like and also, you know, we did this as a contemporary art project, like a public artwork. So we were invited to talk in different universities, and like NPR contacted us, and people were really not you know, uncomfortable with the idea of picking fruit when they're walking around. So we started doing this thing called nocturnal fruit forages, where we'd meet up in the evenings and invite people from the neighborhood, and like it was really fun. Like a ton of people would show up, and we'd bring flashlights and pick fruit in public space, and people would clap, you know. So it was cool.
And that's not necessarily illegal, because I know in New York City you can't pick some fruit in Central Park, for instance, because it's illegal. What are the laws with that?
Well, in Los Angeles and I think in most cities, we really tried to research, and obviously I think the collective consciousness around this idea has really changed, you know, because it's 2015 now, and people are thinking about actually planting fruit trees in public space. But at the time, you know, the most we could really discover in Los Angeles is that it was not illegal to pick fruit if it was growing in public space. You know, there wasn't any real law about it. But in some cities are different. Like in Salt Lake City, I don't think you can pick a fruit if it's, say, in somebody else's property and it's hanging over public space. So it's a city by city thing, and you know, like San Francisco now, and promotes they changed the laws a couple years ago so that you can plant edibles in public space anywhere. Where in Los Angeles, you still can't plant fruit in public spaces or in parkways, but there's a law that's kind of stuck in the books the past a year ago, but hasn't gone through, that says you can plant in the parkways. So we're just sort of waiting till that law passes.
Interesting. So shifting gears a little bit, tell us about your latest work in Portland in your event called A Day in Paradise.
Well, you know, okay, so we do exhibitions where we look at fruit and culture, and these have been like really large scale art installations, and it's David Burns and I who do this since 2013. So in Portland, we were started just looking, okay, how do I explain this in a way that it's really a complex show? So Day in Paradise, we got 8 different Oregon artists to do site-specific works about Oregon, kind of looking at, okay, this is really hard to explain. I'm going to go backwards a little bit. So we got invited to do a large project in Portland with Caldera. They're an arts organization focused on youth and contemporary art also. And so we ended up partnering with Portland Art Museum to do an exhibition there. And so for the opening, we did what we called A Day in Paradise, and we had 8 different Oregon artists do projects, kind of like looking at what we were thinking about, which is fruit and the way culture moves through the world, and the way that maybe culture moved to a place like Oregon. That we started looking at the Oregon Trail and thought about how, well, most fruit and people aren't really native to the area. Like there's some native fruits and berries, but all the fruits we know, like apples, peaches, nectarines, cherries, they all came from China or Kazakhstan. And the same with people. When the Oregon Trail happened, it was Oregon was sold as a paradise to get people to move there, to get the settlers to come over, and they brought apples with them. I gotta like pause for a second. I'm like, I think I'm talking too much about. It's such a long explanation. I'm so sorry.
I mean, from what I read, it seems like you guys are like trying to make that parallel with the Oregon Trail and how we now take in fruit from other places and reappropriate it and kind of have our own identity with it, a new culture around these fruits that we import. I mean, I don't know if that's exactly what you guys were aiming at, but that's what I came across. That's what came across.
I think it's interesting that you to really look at where things come from and how things end up in a place. So and like, for example, there's the idea of manifest destiny at the time of the Oregon Trail, was the idea that the United States had the God-given right to go from sea to sea, and that we needed to remove the native peoples. So one of the great projects on A Day in Paradise, this artist Natalie Ball, she did a war hoop inside the museum. It was sort of a call to action, and she spent a lot of time getting her tribespeople and other tribes to come to the museum that day. So we had a scheduled time where anyone was invited to war hoop, and it was incredible. Like the sound was so loud, and it just lasted for about 60 seconds. but it was like literally the sound was deafening inside this room, and the energy was incredible. And Natalie, the artist, was saying, you can war hoop for anything. You could war hoop if you're having a good day, or if you could war hoop if you want to have beer with your friends, anything. So you can make an intention when you war hoop.
What's war hooping?
War hooping is it's like kind of, you can kind of imagine like you even think of a stereotype of Indians calling before they went to war, or Native American peoples calling. So the interesting part about it is we were thinking about museums and museum collections, and a big part of their collection, they have I think one of the largest collections of Native art in the US. And like a lot of that work was maybe not acquired in the, in legal ways or inappropriate ways. So they have, just hundreds and hundreds of objects, and they're actually, now they're trying to get them back to their original owners. Or they're doing this great thing at the Portland Art Museum of actually lending them to tribes when they do ceremonies. So that like acknowledging that these objects are alive and alive with spirits. So it felt really powerful to have Natalie do this war hoop inside the museum where all these objects were collected. And we actually included Native masks in our exhibit as well.
A lot of the work that you guys do really seems to blend together art and activism. Would you say that's maybe a central mission of the collective?
I'd say so, yeah. I think in the most part, I think we've stuck with our original mission of creating works that are non-polarizing, that people really maybe can't argue against, but we instead come together for something. A lot of activism is really, I think, is really sets up an emotional argument where people have to be for or against it. And I would say that we really consciously try to create activism where, well, why would you be against planting an apple tree? But at the same time, the benefits are incredible. We could actually share free fruit with our neighbors, and this kind of small action that could change the way that we negotiate public space, or the way that we get to walk through our cities.
Absolutely. Wow, that's a powerful mission. Well, no, really, and I've never thought of the idea of activism without that polarization, which is a really awesome concept. Sure.
I think so too. Thank you. And the reason why, even just looking on Facebook and with the upcoming elections and seeing how people are already like on one side or another, and then I think a lot of the actual issues just disappear in some respect. Like Caitlyn. I was looking at a post, somebody was posting about Caitlyn Jenner today on Facebook, saying that she said she's gonna vote Republican, and therefore just went on this long rant about what a horrible person Caitlyn Jenner is. It's these kind of things that turn people against each other. It's really strange. So yeah. So we try to make ideas where maybe Caitlyn and this drag queen could meet together and enjoy a cultural experience and find common ground. And I think that is the place where actual real change happens.
Awesome. Great. Well, those are all the questions we have today. Thank you so much.
Oh my God. You're welcome.